Okay, remember that they're changing my voice. So this video is about a video I just saw that's about 5 minutes long or so. The person who posted it was John Stossel, I believe. And in it, he is very critical of Native Americans in regards to the argument that they lived in harmony with nature and that they were mostly peaceful. Okay, I think that, and he's arguing that there's these misconceptions in society. Well, first of all, when I was young, I'm probably about his age, the age of one of these guys who was saying these things in the video. I thought of Native Americans in terms of cowboys and Indians. I did think of them in terms of peaceful, but I did think of them in terms of cowboys and Indians, right? I had a bunch of toys, little figurines, whatever, of cowboys and Indians, and military guys and different figurines. And so I saw cowboy movies where they were accused of scalping people and so on and so forth. So I didn't think of them as peaceful across the board, and neither did any of my friends, right? We all thought of them as some of them are peaceful, some of them are warlike. Some are peaceful, and if you mess with them, they're warlike, and so on and so forth, which I do believe is the case. Having met various people, living in California, there's various Native Americans around, what have you. Growing up, one of my best friends was black and Native American. I see evidence here and there in the mixtures, what have you. They made it clear to me that my belief of how they were growing up was about right. They then go on to attack critical race theory. Now, keep in mind, my stance on critical race theory is pretty straightforward. I do not believe any education curriculum is perfect. I don't believe that when they teach history before, during, or perhaps what is becoming after critical race theory, that they'll do a great job. I don't think they did a great job. I don't think they're doing a great job. I don't think that they will do a great job. Okay? So I don't entirely agree with critical race theory. Some of the arguments, do I agree with? Absolutely. Absolutely. This is one of the places where I disagree with the president. I'm not a Republican. I'm not a conservative. I don't think that you should teach propaganda to kids in school in a free country. That is one of the aspects of communism, is this kind of ultra-nationalism where they brainwash the kids. If anything, you people are the communists, not me. What is communism? Communism bans religion, where I'm a religious figure as the top martial artist ever possible. What else? Communism wants everything to be publicly owned, give or take, right? As one of the dictionary definitions should be on the screen. They want class warfare. I don't necessarily want class warfare, but I want a more fair distribution of wealth. The government determines the tax rates, right, to some degree. Okay, people are supposed to vote for politicians, but it's a rigged system. So we have a kind of rigged ultra-nationalist system that favors the governing class. And communist systems tend to be that as well. There tends to be core groups of people and various social clubs and various groups, corporate groups, various political groups, and they tend to abuse the system, etc. I'm not a communist. I don't believe in banning religion. I don't believe in a complete redistribution of things. I believe people should be rewarded according to their deeds, according to their human worth, and I don't use a white supremacist scale for these things. And I do believe my vision of Marx and Engels and so on and so forth, where they're white, Jew, and LGBT supremacists in my book. Okay, I don't believe that these people were benevolent people. I believe that they were malicious people who were part of a deeper plan to make the world a worse place, and they basically shamelessly admitted that. They said that, one of these guys said they didn't believe that communism was going to work out as such. They believed it was going to force the governing class to the table and to meet them halfway, and they were big fans of Hegel and the Hegelian principle, the Hegelian dialectic, what have you. So, when you look at this thing, to put it very simply, okay, I'm not for communism or critical race theory per se, but I'm for telling the truth. And you people think that you should ban the truth in classrooms to give white people and capitalist nations a PR lift. Wherever capitalism is wrong, people should understand that it's wrong there, and they should scramble to correct it. So, when you look at this thing, obviously, it was very repugnant for you people to present that video as such. You think that people should play stupid about the problems that face people of color. That part is crystal clear. Crystal clear. Your argument is that the chips more or less fell in place based on people's hard work and their merit. Okay, you don't say it as such in your videos, but you're part of a movement that is alluding to that is suggesting that. You're arguing that America isn't perfect, but it magically allowed for people to achieve their dreams more or less in a way that's more or less magically fair. And that argument is disgusting. Very, very disgusting. I'm the son of 2 doctors, 1 a brain surgeon. There's various people in my families who have degrees. And I can tell you that every educated person of color I've met in my entire life, as someone who's met many of them, is oppressed to some degree more than their white counterparts. Some of them make more money than some white people with similar degrees and experience, yeah. But oppression is attacking them at every turn. And it's partially, and again, I'm not a communist, but it's partially a product of the crony capitalist system that we have. Keyword crony. It's a consequence of social engineering. It's a consequence of the agendas that are at play when they, go through their various urban development processes and processes related to urban development, rather. Okay? And so, as we look at this thing, we see that it's clear that you're playing stupid about the struggles of the most marginalized people in your country. And that's profoundly disgraceful. And you have a kind of mocker, like, used car salesman, snake oil salesman look on your faces when you say these things. And that's disgraceful. I wonder if your families are proud of that video right there. Very, very disgraceful, profoundly disgraceful. It shows that you are not men of character. You're not men of honor. No honorable person would do such a thing. Only dishonorable people would make such a video. You think that life is about trampling on people who are less wealthy than you are? Okay, so you can pretend your genes are superior, so you can kind of yoke yourself to utter scum and try to benefit for that. While you push white, Jewish, and LGBT supremacy, and people who think like you persecute me every day. I'm a victim of organized harassment with over 23 witnesses, and your system is so racist and unfair that no matter what law enforcement agency I contact, it persists. And almost certainly, every law enforcement agency has a hand to play in it. And if I didn't have the 23 witnesses, you'd probably say he sounds like he's mentally ill or something. That is fucking disgraceful. You people should be very, very ashamed of yourself. Not only are you wrong, and clearly so, but you're racist, and what you're doing is racist as hell, and you should be very ashamed of yourselves. Okay, with that being said, I think these 2 gentlemen in the video have some qualities that aren't so bad, but they're possessed by evil, so to speak. Not in a kind of Hollywood way, but in a manner of speaking. They let the evil inside of them and in society get the best of them. So let's talk about how the system should be. So you can kind of see why they're wrong to take the angles that they've taken and to have the goals that they're taking. So I'm not a communist or a socialist according to some definitions. And I'm definitely not a communist. I don't think that the government necessarily needs to control the means of production. But I believe that they should very much regulate in a way that's fair. Okay, the private sector. They should regulate the private sector in a way that's fair. As it stands, the governing class, when they come together and make their policies, they are denying me my free speech. They do not allow me to have my freedom of assembly or my freedom of expression. And you would not believe how far they are going to prevent me from having my human rights, my civil rights, my constitutional rights. I believe that housing is a human right, basic housing, a tiny home or better, with air conditioning as needed. If you live in a place where there's extreme weather, you should have air conditioning as a basic right. I actually live in a house that doesn't have air conditioning right now. Okay, but that's not a big deal. I weathered the storms, went through the winter, through the summer, what have you. But I believe that in some cases we see that some people who are homeless, they're mentally ill or they suffer from various addictions, and they need to have a certain amount of comfort. They need to be taken care of. I believe that basic food, easy to grow, easy to make, easy to prepare, is also human rights. So a certain amount of the money, a certain amount of the tax revenue should be allocated to make sure that no one's homeless and that everyone's fed. Okay. That's not the same as a communist. A communist believes that the government should control basically everything and they should censor people, right? That's what they believe. I don't believe that. I don't believe in censorship. I don't believe in the government assigning people jobs. I believe that there's a way to structure it where it's even better than if the government assigns people jobs. I also consider something that communists often do not, and that is generational sabotage. This is a huge part of life, and it's a huge part of what is fair and what isn't fair. If one group, we'll call it Group A, sabotages Group B, okay, and they sabotage them for generations so that their offspring aren't very competitive. And they say, hey, you have two options here. One, you should let us modify your genes, and then they'll be more competitive. Okay, so they're now controlling them even more. Or two, you can just do what we say because you're not as competitive. You see what I'm saying? You and your offspring and your friends, your family, your neighbors, and your offspring. That is wrong. No economic system should embrace that idea. There's various ways it can play out. One is because they've sabotaged you for generations and you will never be as competitive as you otherwise would be. We're going to have to do things like you don't have to pay income tax. We're going to have to do things like you don't have to work as hard. We're going to have to do things to make it up to you because you and your offspring, with a secular scale, this is important to make this distinction, with a secular scale, you and your offspring have a right to be here. There's all kinds of religious arguments, but with a secular scale. So therefore, we have to make it up to you. We have to compensate you and your offspring because these things have generational effects, and no government has the right to say to you that you have to modify your offspring's genes. That's outrageous. I can't imagine the situation where that makes sense. So they have the right to be here and in the form that they would naturally be in, more or less, right? Because they've done some things to contaminate your genes and the process, there's epigenetic effects, generational effects. So when people don't admit generational sabotage immediately, that is an unfair system. If it's a system that favors certain racial groups, that's a racial supremacy system. It's an ethnocentric system. It's a tribalist system. And the system we have is white, Jewish, and LGBT supremacy. That's the system. These groups aren't naturally superior? No, they're not. They have sabotaged other people, and they do things a certain way to try to feed into the despicable and toxic and disgusting, the revolting falsehood that they're magically superior. And a lot of these people are even into the occult and witchcraft. They play silly, immature Mickey Mouse games like bitches. The people who do, not their whole groups per se. Unbelievable. That's not how you treat people. If the system is nowhere near moral, it is disgusting, and only the lowest forms of life would defend it. However, I know a lot of you, you're defending the system, and you feel real low about it. And you should feel bad about it. That's a natural human response. When you're doing the wrong thing, your conscience should beat you up. Why should you try to blunt your conscience, try to dull your conscience? It should be telling you, hey, stop doing that. There should be another part of you telling you, be a man. Don't just kill yourself for no reason. If you have a good reason to kill yourself, okay, and there comes a time to do that if that's the case. But don't just kill yourself because you're whimpering and acting like a bitch. That's stupid. Face your enemy. Fighting to the death is preferable in most situations to killing oneself. I also believe that the right to fight to the death against an oppressive system is a human right, and that oppressive system should not be interfering with that, and they shouldn't be an oppressive system. For example, if you're in Nazi Germany and they're abusing you and they're raping you and they're putting you in camps and experimenting on you, fuming you and poisoning you, and on and on and on and on. Do you have an innate human right to defend yourself? You betcha. If they bend over backwards to protect themselves from you, defending yourselves from them, are they more wrong than they otherwise would be? You betcha. And that's where we are today here in America and all over the world, where they bend over backwards to prevent you from defending yourself. That's what these mass shootings are about. They provoke somebody to do a mass shooting in a controlled manner so they can prevent other people from fighting to the death against their oppressor. And that has to be said. Show me a law that says that's illegal to say. It doesn't exist. But there's people who run psyops who want to deny me my right to make that very important, very vital point. Give me liberty, or rather give me true and moral freedom. Not some occult wordplay garbage. True and moral freedom, or give me death. That's an extremely important point that they don't want me to make. Because they're abusing people so much and in a calculated manner. They actually more or less calculate the rates of child molestation. And they think they're important for doing it. It goes that deep. If you really think about it, you'll see that I'm right. One of the least explored topics by investigators, by the society at large, is, things related to what you might say is a conspiracy, but it's really more of a concerted effort. It's an obvious concerted effort. For example, at any given time, there's gang members plotting to do some stuff. They're plotting to rob, they're plotting to rape, they're plotting to kill, assault, you name it. At any given time. If someone was to say, hey, that's a part of this society, are they a fucking crazy tinfoil hat conspiracy theorist who believes in reptilians and aliens and some crazy shit? No. That's logical. And so it is with social clubs and church groups and political groups. There's a bunch of these dudes out there plotting to a large degree, and they collaborate. That's part of what corporate partnerships are. They're collaboration. It's a concerted effort. And the corporate partnerships include groups, that basically own all the major corporations, and they don't necessarily all get along, but they come to the table and they split the pie a certain way, and there's certain kill rates that are considered. That's why the fentanyl crisis is playing out the exact way it is. They brought in a lot of fentanyl and cocaine and heroin while they had the chance. Even to seal the boiler right now, how do you know there's not 1 million tons of these things in the country right now? How do you know the government isn't protecting some of these things? We don't know. I don't know. But I know it's logical to suspect them. And I know that if they're not doing that, they're doing some other bitch-ass shit, because that's who they are. If gang members down the street aren't plotting to fucking stab somebody, they're probably plotting to sell drugs, because that's what they do. If the government and the corporations and the social clubs aren't plotting some despicable bitch shit, they're plotting some other despicable bitch shit. There's no other way to look at it. That's who they are. They are scum. They are control freaks. They are sexual sadists. They're hell-bent to control your sexual behavior. That's who they are. They're eugenicists. They're social Darwinists. They are pieces of shit. Utterly disgraced worms. God despises them and knows that their stock is extremely low. But yet they want to pretend that they're superior. White supremacy, first and foremost, is social club, secret society, governing class worm, quote-unquote supremacy. White people are not naturally superior, neither are Jews or LGBT people. It's a profound disgrace that they do things to subtly suggest that they are. While on top of that, rigging the system to favor them. Just sickening, sickening, sickening. Now again, I'm not racist. I'm part white. My mother's white. I love my mom, what have you. I call it like I see it. If I was all white, I would say the same thing. If I was all Jewish, I'm just slightly Jewish from what I gather, I would say the same thing. If I was an LGBT person, I would say the same thing. The truth is the truth, and the truth will set you free, and you're better off insisting on the truth and insisting on what's right. The best moments of my entire life weren't having sex or drinking or smoking marijuana, and I haven't smoked marijuana in a long time, mind you. They were moments like this when I'm telling the truth, manning up, what have you. And if I was married, my relationship would be far better than the relationships of the past. Basically, I had a pretty good relationship, basically, because of the degree of manning up that has occurred in my life. And if I was making love to a woman while feeling like this right now, it would be better than other feelings, minus the sabotage, that is. If you remove the sabotage. So my system is much better than theirs. All theirs. Communist, capitalist, all the other ideas that seem like socialist system. Again, I don't believe I don't believe in certain aspects of what socialism is often described as. But I certainly believe in helping the poor. I certainly believe that housing is a human right, that basic food is a human right, that fair law enforcement is a human right. Basic medical care is a human right. Not having a corrupt system is a human right. Your freedom of speech, assembly, right to bear arms within reason. Freedom of expression. Having an honest system where the press is telling the truth. We don't have these things right now. Even in states where they allow you to have ARs, what have you, who has them and who doesn't? I can assure you, in every red state, there are people who were set up in a way that denied them their gun rights. There is no serious effort to give people gun rights fairly right now. No serious effort at all. They all work in collaboration in groups, okay, to make it so some types of people have guns and fancy guns and better guns, and other type of people either don't have guns or they have second-rate guns. Because it's a very petty, divided nation, a very racist nation, people with very sexual agendas. So I put a lot of what I believe in the picture on the screen. The writing should be there. Hopefully it shows up. And I've kind of explained the difference between me and other people pretty well. And there's a lot more to it, but a lot of the key points I have explained. So I'll leave it there. I went over time here. Thank you.